There are moments in history when arrogance believes it owns the street, when cruelty feels bold because it thinks no one powerful is watching. And then there are moments when silence hides something far more dangerous than noise. This is one of those moments, the day a stranger chose the wrong target and discovered that respect is not optional. If you believe in stories where courage crushes cruelty, stay with me. And before this story unfolds, take a second to subscribe, because some legends deserve to be remembered. It was a bright afternoon in a coastal American city. The harbor smelled of salt and steel. Sailors moved between docks. Tourists drifted past cafes. And in the middle of it all walked a young woman named Mara Ellison. She looked ordinary. Simple jacket, quiet posture, eyes forward. She had just transferred to a nearby naval installation. It was her first week. New town, new command. No one knew her name yet. Across the street leaned a man who believed he owned every sidewalk he stepped on. Derek Halbrook. Loud, broad, the kind of man who mistook volume for strength. He had gathered two friends beside him, laughing too hard at jokes that weren't funny. They noticed her immediately. The comments started low, then louder, then closer. Mara kept walking.
Derek stepped into her path. "Hey, sweetheart," he said, grinning at the small crowd forming around the commotion. "You're in the wrong neighborhood." Some people slowed down. No one stepped in. Arrogance feeds on silence. He reached for her arm. That was the moment history shifted.
What Derek did not know, what the crowd did not know, was that Mara Ellison was not simply the new girl. She was a decorated operator from one of the most elite maritime units in the world. A graduate of United States Navy SEALs training, an environment designed to break the strongest bodies and the toughest minds. She had endured Hell Week. She had survived missions no headline would ever describe. And she had learned one rule above all others: control the moment, or the moment controls you. When his fingers tightened around her wrist, the air changed. It happened in less than 3 seconds. A sharp crack split the noise of the harbor. Derek's grin vanished.
His body twisted, then froze, then dropped to one knee, as if the ground had betrayed him. Mara had shifted her weight, rotated her hips, and applied pressure with surgical precision. No wasted motion, no anger, just training. The sound of his shoulder locking echoed like a snapped branch. Silence swallowed the street. Even the gulls seemed to pause. Derek gasped, face pale, arrogance draining from his eyes. "Let go," he choked.
Mara leaned slightly closer, her voice steady and calm. "You chose the wrong person to test." She released him, not with fury, but with discipline. He stumbled back, clutching his arm, humiliated in front of the very crowd he had tried to impress. No cheering followed, just stunned quiet. Because everyone understood what they had witnessed. Power dismantled without chaos.
Within minutes, base security vehicles rolled in. A senior chief petty officer stepped out, having recognized Mara from earlier that week. His expression shifted from concern to recognition. "Ellison?" he asked quietly. "Yes, Senior Chief." "You all right?" "Yes, Senior Chief." He glanced at Derek, now surrounded by officers taking statements. "What happened?" the chief asked. Mara didn't embellish, didn't dramatize. "He grabbed me. I stopped him. Nothing more." The chief nodded slowly. He had served long enough to recognize precision when he saw it. "You showed restraint." "I showed proportion," she corrected gently. The word lingered. Around them, bystanders whispered. Some looked ashamed they hadn't stepped in. Others stared at Mara with new understanding. She had not screamed. She had not panicked. She had not escalated beyond necessity. She had controlled it. Derek, once loud and towering, avoided eye contact as he was escorted away. The same hands that had reached out in dominance, now trembled in disbelief. Authority is not volume, strength is not noise, and respect is not optional. Later that evening, in a quiet office overlooking the harbor, the commanding officer requested a brief report. He had reviewed security footage already, frame by frame. "You could have done far more," he observed. Mara met his gaze. "Yes, sir." "But you didn't." "No, sir." "Why?" Her answer was simple. "Because skill is a responsibility." The commander leaned back, studying the young operator who carried no arrogance in her posture. "You understand something many never do," he said. "Real power doesn't advertise itself." Outside, word of the incident spread across the installation, not as gossip, but as quiet respect. Sailors who had walked past the scene replayed it in their minds, the speed, the control, the silence afterward. Some felt regret for not stepping forward, others felt inspired to train harder, and a lesson moved through the base like an unseen current. Never confuse calm with weakness. Weeks turned into months. The story evolved into something almost mythical. New recruits would hear fragments of it during late-night conversations. They say she dropped him in 2 seconds. They say he never saw it coming. They say she didn't even raise her voice. Mara never confirmed the details. She never corrected exaggerations. She simply trained, worked, led quietly by example.
Years later, when she became an instructor, a young recruit once asked her, "Ma'am, how do you deal with people who underestimate you?" She paused before answering. "Let them," she said. The recruit frowned. "That's it?" Mara allowed herself the faintest smile. Arrogance defeats itself. You just have to be ready when it does. The harbor incident was never printed in newspapers. It never trended online. But inside that coastal city and inside that base, it became an unofficial legend, a reminder that dignity is stronger than dominance, that control outclasses chaos, that the quietest person in the room may carry the greatest strength. And somewhere out there, perhaps in another crowded street, another loud voice is mistaking silence for weakness. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever stayed calm while someone tested your limits, remember Mara's rule. Skill is a responsibility, and true power doesn't need permission. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes in standing strong without losing control. Comment below with one word that defines real strength. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories from Tales of Courage.